So you're sitting there watching TV, or maybe you're lying in bed at night, and every time someone shuts off a faucet or the washing machine kicks into its next cycle, you hear it. That loud bang or series of bangs coming from inside your walls. Maybe the pipes even shudder, and you're wondering, is my house falling apart? Is something about to burst? Here's the deal. That banging has a name. It's called water hammer. And today, I'm going to explain exactly what causes it, why it's doing real damage every single time it happens, and then walk you through every fix from completely free to about $15. And if you stick around to the end, I'll show you the one $10 test that exposes the hidden cause most plumbers won't volunteer. Because honestly, it's not in their interest to tell you. Let's get into it. Water hammer is one of those problems that most people just live with because they figure it's normal or harmless. It's neither. And the good news is, once you understand what's actually happening inside your pipes, the fixes are straightforward and surprisingly cheap. So let's start with what's really going on behind your walls. Here's the thing about water that most people don't think about. Water is heavy. A single gallon weighs about 8 1/3 pounds. Now picture your plumbing system. You've got anywhere from 40 to 100 feet of pipe filled with water, and when a fixture is open, all of that water is moving. It has real momentum, just like a car cruising down the highway. Now imagine that car hitting a brick wall at full speed. That's essentially what happens inside your pipes when a valve closes quickly. The water is flowing, the valve slams shut, and all that momentum has nowhere to go. So it creates a shock wave, a pressure spike that rockets back through the pipe. That spike can hit 3 to 4 times your normal water pressure in a fraction of a second. And that bang you hear? That's the pipe physically jerking, slamming against joists, studs, or whatever it's running next to. Now here's why this is so much worse today than it was 30 or 40 years ago. Older homes had slow-closing valves. You'd turn a knob, the valve would gradually close, and the water had time to slow down gently. Modern plumbing is full of fast-closing valves. Your single-lever kitchen faucet snaps from full flow to off in a split second. Your washing machine has solenoid valves that slam shut electrically. Your dishwasher, your ice maker, they all use these instant shut-off valves. Every one of them is a potential hammer source. And here's what most people don't realize. Water hammer isn't just annoying. It's damage happening in real time. Every single bang is a pressure spike stressing your solder joints, loosening threaded fittings, flexing supply lines, and fatiguing the connections at your appliance valves. Over months and years, those repeated shocks weaken everything in the system. Burst washing machine hoses are a classic downstream casualty of chronic water hammer. That hose didn't just randomly fail. It was getting hammered thousands of times until it finally gave out. And a burst washing machine hose while you're at work can dump hundreds of gallons into your home in a matter of hours. So yeah, this is worth fixing. Let's figure out where yours is coming from. The first thing you want to do is identify exactly which fixture or appliance is causing the hammer. Don't just guess. You need to be systematic about this. Start by going around your house and testing each fixture one at a time. Turn on the kitchen faucet full blast, then shut it off quickly. Listen. Do the same with every bathroom faucet, every toilet, every shower valve. Then test your appliances. Run the washing machine and listen during the fill cycle, and especially when it shifts between cycles, because that's when the solenoid valves snap shut. Run the dishwasher and listen at the beginning of each wash and rinse stage. If you've got an ice maker, listen when it kicks on to fill. While you're testing, pay attention to where the sound is loudest. Go down to your basement or crawl space if you can, and watch the pipes while someone else operates the fixtures upstairs. You might actually see a pipe jump or vibrate when the hammer hits. That tells you two things. It tells you which valve is causing the shock wave, and it shows you where the pipe is loose and physically banging against the framing. Both pieces of information matter because you're going to address both. Make a mental note or jot down which fixtures trigger the bang and where the noise seems to be coming from. That's your roadmap for the fixes ahead. Now, before you start fixing anything, I want you to do one critical test that most people skip entirely. And honestly, a lot of plumbers skip it too, because it's not in their interest. You need to test your water pressure. This is the $10 diagnosis that changes everything. Go to any hardware store and pick up a hose bib pressure gauge. It's a small brass gauge with a female hose fitting on one end. Screw it onto any outdoor hose bib or any threaded faucet connection. Make sure no other water is running in the house, then open the valve and read the gauge. Your water pressure should be somewhere between 40 and 60 pounds per square inch. Anything up to about 75 is generally acceptable, but if that gauge reads 80 pounds per square inch or higher, you just found the hidden enabler behind your water hammer. Excessive water pressure makes hammer dramatically worse because the water is moving faster and hitting harder when those valves snap shut. It's the difference between tapping your brakes at 30 miles an hour and slamming them at 70. The shock wave at high pressure is violent. Most homes are supposed to have a pressure-reducing valve, or PRV, installed where the main water line enters the house. It looks like a bell-shaped brass fitting with an adjustment bolt on top. Here's the problem. PRVs fail silently. They don't leak, they don't make noise. They just slowly stop regulating, and your pressure creeps up over the years without you ever knowing. Or in some homes, especially older ones, a PRV was never installed at all. And here's the part that bugs me. A lot of plumbers will come out, diagnose water hammer, install an arrestor or two, collect their service call fee, and never once check the pressure. Because if your pressure is running at 100 pounds per square inch, that arrestor is just a Band-Aid. The hammer will come back, and they'll get another call. That's easy repeat money. The gauge test takes 30 seconds and costs $10. Do it yourself. If this kind of practical plumbing knowledge is something you want more of, I have written a guide called 50 Easy Plumbing Fixes that will save you $10,000. It is packed with repairs you can do yourself this weekend without calling a plumber. Scan the QR code right now or check the first link below. All right, let us continue. Now let's start fixing things, and we're going cheapest first. The first fix costs you almost nothing, and it solves the problem in a surprising number of homes. Remember, the bang you hear is often a pipe physically slapping against a floor joist, a stud, or a hole in the framing. The shock wave makes the pipe jump, and if that pipe isn't properly secured, it smacks into whatever's nearby. That's a huge chunk of the noise. Head down to your basement, crawl space, or wherever your pipes are accessible. Look for runs of pipe that are hanging free without any support, or pipes that pass through holes in joists without any cushioning. These are your trouble spots. What you want to do is secure those pipes so they can't move. Pick up some cushioned pipe clamps, sometimes called suspension clamps, that match your pipe diameter. For most residential supply lines, you're looking at either 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch clamps. The cushion type has a rubber lining inside, so you're not putting bare metal against bare metal, which would create its own noise problems. Install a clamp every 4 to 6 feet along horizontal runs, and at every point where the pipe changes direction. For pipes that pass through holes in joists or studs, wrap them with foam pipe insulation before they go through the hole. A 6-foot piece of foam insulation costs about $1.50 at any hardware store. Just slit it open, wrap it around the pipe, and now that pipe can't rattle around inside the hole. I've been on jobs where this alone, just strapping down loose pipes and adding foam, completely eliminated the banging. It took 20 minutes and cost less than $10 in materials. All right, next up is the old school free fix, and I mean completely free. If your home has air chambers, which are short vertical sections of pipe installed near fixtures that act as shock absorbers, they may have become waterlogged over time. When they were first installed, those chambers were full of air. The air compresses when the shock wave hits and cushions the blow. But over months and years, water gradually absorbs that air. And now the chamber is full of water instead of air. No air cushion means no shock absorption. Here's how you reset them. First, shut off your main water supply at the meter or at the main shutoff valve. Then go to the highest point in your house, usually an upstairs bathroom, and open both the hot and cold faucets. Next, go to the lowest point, usually a hose bib outside or a basement laundry faucet, and open those too. Now let gravity do its thing. The water will drain down and out through the lowest point, and air will enter from the highest point to replace it. Let it drain completely. This might take 10 to 15 minutes depending on your house. You'll hear gurgling and sputtering as air enters the system, and that's exactly what you want. Once the water stops flowing from the lowest point, close all the faucets starting from the lowest and working your way up. Then turn the main water supply back on. Go around the house and open each faucet one at a time, lowest to highest, letting the air sputter out until you get a steady stream. Those air chambers are now recharged with fresh air cushions. In older homes especially, this can make a dramatic difference. I recommend doing this once a year as preventive maintenance, even if you're not hearing hammer. Now, if securing pipes and draining the system didn't fully solve the problem, it's time to install water hammer arrestors. These are purpose-built devices that absorb the shock wave, and they're remarkably effective. An arrestor is basically a sealed metal cylinder with a piston inside. On one side of the piston is the water supply. On the other side is a sealed air chamber. When the shock wave hits, the piston moves and the air compresses, absorbing the shock. Unlike old-style air chambers, the sealed design means the air can't get waterlogged over time. For washing machines, this is about as easy as plumbing gets. Pick up a pair of screw-on washing machine hammer arrestors. They cost about $10 to $15 for the pair. Pull your washing machine out from the wall. Turn off both supply valves. Unscrew your hot and cold supply hoses from the valves. Screw the arrestors onto the valves. Then screw your supply hoses onto the arrestors. That's it. Hand tight plus a quarter turn with pliers. The whole job takes maybe 10 minutes and requires no tools beyond a pair of channel locks. These screw-on arrestors work great because they're installed right at the source of the hammer, those fast-closing solenoid valves. For dishwashers and ice makers, the installation is a little more involved because you typically need to add a T-fitting to the supply line to mount the arrestor. If you're comfortable sweating copper or working with push-fit fittings like SharkBite, you can handle this yourself. Install the arrestor as close to the appliance valve as possible, ideally within 6 feet. Make sure you get the right size. For most residential applications, a 3/4 inch arrestor handles everything on the main lines, and a 1/2 inch works for individual fixture supply lines. Look for arrestors rated AA or larger for washing machines and dishwashers. Now let's talk about correcting the pressure, because if your gauge test showed anything over 80 pounds per square inch, this is the real fix. Everything else is managing symptoms. Find your pressure-reducing valve on the main water line where it enters your house. It's usually right after the main shutoff, and it looks like a brass bell shape with a bolt and lock nut on top. To adjust it, loosen the lock nut with a wrench, then turn the adjustment bolt. Clockwise increases pressure. Counterclockwise decreases it. Make small adjustments, about half a turn at a time, then recheck with your gauge. You're aiming for somewhere between 50 and 60 pounds per square inch. That's the sweet spot where you have plenty of pressure for comfortable showers and good appliance performance, but low enough that hammer is dramatically reduced. If you adjust the bolt and the pressure doesn't change, or if it drops initially and then creeps back up over a few hours, your PRV has failed internally and needs to be replaced. A replacement PRV costs about $40 to $60, and swapping one out is a manageable DIY job if you're comfortable cutting pipe and working with fittings. If not, this is a reasonable job to hire out because a plumber can typically do it in under an hour. Let's go over some issues you might run into and how to deal with them. First, you drained the system, and the hammer came back within a few weeks. This usually means your air chambers are too short to hold an effective cushion, or you don't actually have air chambers at all, just regular pipes. In that case, skip the drain method and go straight to mechanical arrestors. Second, you installed arrestors and the hammer didn't stop. Check your water pressure. If it's over 80 pounds per square inch, the shock wave may be too powerful for the arrestor to fully absorb. Fix the pressure first, then reassess. Also, make sure the arrestor is installed close to the offending valve, not 20 feet away on the other side of the house. Third, the hammer only happens at certain times of day, like early morning or late evening. This often points to municipal pressure fluctuations. Your city's water pressure can vary significantly throughout the day, and it tends to spike during low usage hours when fewer people are drawing water. A PRV set to 60 pounds per square inch will protect you regardless of what the city sends your way. Fourth, you hear hammer from multiple fixtures all over the house. This almost always means excessive water pressure is the root cause. One fixture might have a weak valve or a loose pipe, but when every fixture triggers hammer, the pressure is too high across the board. Test it, fix it at the PRV, and most of the house-wide banging will stop. Fifth, the hammer is coming from inside a wall you can't access. Don't tear open the wall just to strap a pipe. Install an arrestor at the nearest accessible point on that pipe run and correct your water pressure. Between those two fixes, the pipe may still vibrate slightly, but it won't have enough force to create an audible bang. All right, here's that bonus tip I promised at the beginning. I want you to understand the seriousness scale so you know how urgently to act. If you get an occasional single thud when you shut off one particular faucet, that's a level 1. It's worth fixing when you get a chance, but it's not an emergency. Strap the nearby pipes, maybe install an arrestor, and you're good. But if you're hearing loud, repeated banging from multiple fixtures, if the pipes are visibly shaking, if it happens every time the washing machine cycles, that's a level 5. That is active damage happening to your plumbing system every single day. Those pressure spikes are working on every joint, every connection, every supply hose in your house. And here's the scenario that keeps me up at night. A rubber washing machine supply hose that's been getting hammered for 3 years while the homeowner ignores it. One Tuesday morning while they're at work, that hose finally blows. A standard supply line flows about 500 gallons per hour. By the time they get home 8 hours later, that's 4,000 gallons of water on their floors, through their ceilings, into their walls. I've seen it happen more times than I can count, and it almost always traces back to chronic water hammer and excessive pressure that nobody bothered to check. That $10 pressure gauge and 15 minutes of your time can prevent a $30,000 insurance claim. Do the gauge test this weekend. If you're over 80 pounds per square inch, fix it. Your house will thank you. If this was useful, you will love the full book. 50 step-by-step plumbing fixes with diagrams, all in one guide. Link is below. Hit subscribe so you do not miss the next video. Thanks for watching.